So in the previous video we talked about cardinality ratio and participation constraint. So the example that we took was an n:1 relationship between employee and department. So in this video we are going to continue that topic. Okay, that is participation constraint. So participation constraint is also called as minimum cardinality constraint. And what was that? It was the minimum number of relationship instances in which an entity can participate. So the employee entity can participate in maximum one relationship instance. Similarly, the department entity can also participate in at least one relationship instance. So that is called as the participation constraint. And all this is specified during requirement analysis phase, which is the first phase. While talking to the users of the database or the people who want us to create the database, we collect something called as requirements, their requirements, and we define them, analyze them, and according to that we create this model called as ER model, which is a high level conceptual model. So according to the company rules, it says that an employee has to work for at least one department, and also the department has to contain at least one employee, right? So the participation constraint of employee is also one and the department is also one, which means that employee participates totally in the works for relationship as well as department participates totally in the works for relationship. So the participation constraint is of two types. Okay, the one is total participation and the second is partial participation, right? So what is total participation is, for example, employee. So employee has to participate in at least one relationship instance of the work for relationship type for it to be present in the employee entity type. For example, if I create an entity E8 of employee, so in order for it to exist in the employee entity type, it must be associated with at least one relationship instance here. Okay, because it is already specified that an employee has to work for at least one department. So it can only exist if it participates in at least one relationship instance, and then maybe like this. Okay, so the the existence of an entity in the employee entity type depends on whether it is related to another entity type via the relationship type. Okay, so it means that existence of an entity in the employee entity type depends on whether it is related to another entity type. So this is also called as existence dependency, right? So total participation is also called as existence dependency. What is total participation? Total participation means that this entity type employee, it means all the entities of the employee entity type have participated in this relationship called as works for. So this is a total participation. Partial participation means, let us say the company policy says that it is not necessary for an employee to work for any department. That is, an employee can exist in the company without working for any department. In that case, an employee E8 can exist here who is not working for any department. So it is not necessary for all the entities of employee entity type to participate in the works for relationship. So the participation of employee entity type or employee entities in works for relationship type is partial. That is a partial relationship. That is a partial participation. Okay. So the total participation is also called as existence dependency. Right. So that is about the participation constraint, and the cardinality ratio is the maximum number of relationship instances in which the entity participates. So now we will see how to represent this works for relationship, which is n:1 relationship type in the ER model, right? Okay, so employee is 2, department is n:1. Okay, because n employees work for one department, or one department can have n employees. Okay, so that is about the cardinality ratio of this particular relationship. So employee is an entity also department is an entity, because what was an entity? An entity is a thing in a real world. So employee is a thing and department is a thing. So employee and department are entities. So the entity in ER diagram is represented by using a rectangle. Okay, so rectangle, and I will write in it employee. And department is another entity. Right, and the relationship that exists between employee and department is works for relationship. So whenever we want to represent a relationship in the ER diagram, we represent it using a diamond, right, like this. Okay, employee works for department. Okay, and employee is N and 1. Although the maximum number of relationship instances in which an employee can participate is 1, but we cross change it. As I told in the earlier video as well, whenever even though the department entity can participate in at most n relationships, right? In at most n relationship instances, but still. So we had written the n as the cardinality ratio here, but when we represent it in ER diagram, or when we represent it while writing like this, we say that employee to department is an n:1 relationship, because a department can have n employees, and an employee can at most work for one department. Okay, so now if the participation of employee entity type in works for relationship is total, and also the participation of department entity type in works for relationship is also total. Why? Because it has already been given in the requirement definition that every employee has to work for at least one department, and also a department has to have at least one employee. So it has to participate totally in the works for relationship, both of them. So whenever there is a total participation, we represent it using a double line. Okay, so this is the representation of this relationship, works for relationship, in the form of ER diagram. And also this is called as single line, double line, or cardinality ratio. Single line, double line, or cardinality ratio representation. Alright, so this is called as the single line, double line, or cardinality ratio representation. Of ER diagram, right? So there is one other representation using which we can represent the ER diagram, which we'll look at later. Now this is an example of a n:1 relationship. Now we will look at another example of 1:1 relationship, and after that m:n relationship. So let's look at it. So let us say the requirements are like this. An employee manages a department. Okay, so not every employee needs to manage a department, but every department needs to have a manager. You can write it down. An employee has to manage a department. Not all employees need to manage one department, but a department has to be managed by an employee. Okay, so let me represent it. Employee, what is the relationship? Manages, and what does it manage? Department, right? So not every employee needs to manage a department. there are employees E1, E2, E3 who do not manage any department. And now there is employee E4 who manages department D1. But every department has to have a manager, and a department has to have at most one manager. It cannot have many managers, and also an employee can manage at most one department. Okay, so and E4 is managing department D1, E5 is managing department, let us say D4, E6 is managing department D2, E8 is managing department D3, and so on, right? So this is the relationship managers. Okay, so now tell me the cardinality ratio and participation constraint both in the case of employee and department entity type. So what is the cardinality ratio? Cardinality ratio is the maximum number of relationship instances in which the entity can participate. So since it has been specified in the schema that an employee cannot manage many departments, an employee can manage at most one department. So here you can see E4 is managing only one department and E5 is managing at most one department. So all the employees are managing at most one department, right? So how many relationship instances does each entity of this entity type participate at max? It participated in at maximum one relationship instance. So the cardinality ratio, so the cardinality of employee entity type is 1. Okay, so now talking about the department entity type, a department can also be managed by at most one employee. So a department cannot be managed by many employees, right? So every department is participating in at most one relationship instance. So the cardinality ratio of department entity type is also 1. It is participating in at most one relationship instance, right? That's why its cardinality is 1. And here also every employee entity is participating in at most one relationship instance, so its cardinality is also 1. Now we talk about participation. So this is cardinality. Now let us talk about participation. Does every entity of the employee entity type participate in at least one relationship instance? No. At least how many relationship instances does each entity of the employee entity type participate? 0. Why? Because E1, E2, E3, E7 are not participating in even one relationship instance. So the minimum number of relationship instances in which each entity can participate is 0. So the participation here is 0, right? But every department has to have a manager. So every department has to participate in this relationship, right? So the minimum number of relationship instances in which each department participates is 1. Okay, so the participation of department in the manager's relationship is 1. Okay, so that is about participation and cardinality ratio. What is the degree of relationship type? Degree of relationship managers is the number of participating entity types. How many entity types are participating in manager's relationship? 2 entity types. One is employee and one is department. So the degree of relationship is 2. Degree of relationship is 2. And the relationships who have the degree 2 are also called as a binary relationship. So this is the manager's relationship between employee and department is a binary relationship, right? So now let us see how to represent in the form of cardinality ratio, single line, double line representation. So employee is an entity, employee is an entity, and department is an entity. Right. Now, relationship is represented by a diamond. And since it is a binary relationship, 2 participating entity types, so it has 2 edges, this relationship type, right? So, what is the relationship name? Managers. Employee manages department. So, The participation of employee entity type in managers is partial. So the partial participation is represented by a single line. Leave it as it is. Now the department has a participation, total participation. Total participation means every department entity has to participate in the manager's relationship, right? Because every department entity has to participate in at least one relationship instance. So every department entity has to participate in the relationship. So the participation of department entity type in manager's relation is total. So this is total participation. Total participation is represented by double line. And what is the kind of relationship? It is a 1:1 relationship. Why? Cardinality ratio is 1 and 1. Even when we exchange it, it becomes 1 and 1. So an employee can at most manage one department, and a department can at most have one manager. Okay, so that is about 1:1 relationship. So now we will look at M:N relationship. So there is a relationship works on. Okay. So employee works on project. Let me write it here since it is not visible. Employee works on project. Okay, so the requirement definition goes like this. An employee can work on many projects, and every project can be worked on by many employees. But an employee has to work on at least one project, and a project has to be worked upon by at least one employee, right? So E1 can work on many projects. Let us say it is working on 2 projects. E2 is working on 3 projects. E3 is working on 1 project. E4 is working on 2 projects. Now let us talk about cardinality ratio. So the cardinality ratio is the maximum number of relationship instances. So an employee, let us say an employee entity E1. How many relationship instances does it participate in? 2. E2, 3. E4, 2. So every employee or every employee entity of the employee entity type can participate in n relationship instances. So the cardinality of employee entity type is n, right? Also, this project is worked upon by 2 employees. This project is also worked upon by 2. This is also 2. Let us say it is worked by 3 employees. Okay. This project is worked upon by 3 employees. So every project can be worked upon by any number of employees. So the cardinality ratio of project entity type is also n, because a project can be worked upon by many employees. That's why the maximum number of relationship instances in which project entity can participate is m. We cannot keep it same because it does not give the exact number. It can be any number. This and this can be any number. Okay, So this is cardinality. Now let us talk about participation. So every employee participates in at least one relationship instance, and also every department every project also participates in at least one relationship instance. So the minimum number of relationship instances in which this employee participates is 1, as well as the number of relationship instances at least in which the project entity participates is also 1. Okay, so participation is also 1. Now let us represent again in form of ER diagram. Employee works on project. Okay, so and if you cross change it, it will become N. Doesn't matter whichever way you want. Now, if the participation of this is total and this is also total. 1, 1. Okay, so the participation of employee entity type in works on relationship is total, as well as the participation of project entity type in works on relationship is also total. So we represent total participation. Okay, so this is how we represent relationships in ER model, and a binary relationship can be of only these three types: 1:1, N:1, and M:n. And all the three examples we discussed, one is employee works for department, which is an example of N:1 relationship. Other one is employee manages a department, which is a 1:1 relationship, and another is employee works on project, which is an M:n relationship. So we have discussed all the types of relationships. In further videos, we are going to be discussing weak entity types and how to represent them in ER model. So I'll see you in my next video, and don't forget to press the like button if you happen to like this video. Subscribe to my channel for more such videos. Thank you for watching.